Good evening. Welcome back to another episode, number 26 of Not the 6 o'clock News. This is a place where you can get inspiration and information for your new reality. And tonight I'm really excited because, as you can see, I've got my guest here, Wendy Majewski. Am I saying that correctly, Wendy?
Almost.
Almost. tell me how you say it.
Well, it's quite funny because I always used to say to people, think of my left ski and just
Okay.
take out the left and go my F ski. And then people remember it because they think of skiing.
Okay, I like that because I love to ski. So, Wendy Majewski.
There you go.
I got it now. And we're going to be talking about the topic, what do you need to heal? So I'm just going to start with a conversation here. Is all well in your world, or are you feeling lost? Are you in pain physically or emotionally? Or worse, especially during the time of COVID, are you depressed? You're probably doing everything right, but things are still going wrong. And you may have tried many different various remedies or healing modalities, and you're good for a while, but then things start to emerge the same old way. It's the old patterns resurfacing. So there is good news about this because maybe that means you just have a subconscious belief that is entrenched in your mind, and we're going to be talking about how powerful the subconscious is in recreating that same old belief time and time again. So you are not alone. Know that there is good news, and Wendy is going to be helping us with that tonight. So Wendy Majewski, got it right, is,
Yeah.
see, that really worked for me, is amongst other titles, a master paradigm shifter. And tonight we're going to specifically explore the emotion code with her and other healing methodologies on how you can identify and release those old blocks so that you're free to be the wonderful person that you're meant to be. So I'm just going to give Wendy a formal introduction. She is known for her skills as a master paradigm shifter, helping you break through your subconscious beliefs that hold you back from achieving your dream. Using the emotion code and EFT, otherwise known as emotional freedom techniques, she is also qualified as a certified advanced life mastery consultant through the Mastery Institute. She's founded as Transformation Results Consulting, her own company, has an honors in BPE, I'll be asking you about that, and is an energy medicine practitioner. I love it. Wendy loves serving her clients so that they are able to live a life they love. I love that sentence, Wendy, because, I'm always trying to say to people, well, I helped you free you up so you can be happy or you can find your dream, but finding a life you love is a beautiful way to say it. So I'm going to get right to the nitty gritty here and start with the questions. I met you several years ago, instantly took a liking to you, and we started yakety-yakketing, and we realized that we're kind of both doing something similar, but I'm very intrigued by what you do, and we've been both so busy. We've kind of discussed doing exchange services, but we haven't got around to it. So tell me first what attracted you to healing, because I know you're very passionate about what you do.
Well, thanks, Natasha, and thanks for having me
Oh, you
on
will.
tonight. I'm really grateful to be able to share with you and other people about the healing modalities. So let's just flip the clock back, 1992.
Mhm.
I was in a severe car accident with my former husband and my 2.5-year-old son.
Oh,
And I was severely injured. And luckily at the time, I was an excellent athlete. So what my physiotherapists and doctors said to me were, Wendy, you're very lucky you're not a quad. If you weren't so strong and healthy,
wow.
the impact that you received, you with the neck injury and all the injuries in my back, it was all soft tissue. They said the good news is you're not a quad. The bad news is soft tissue injuries take longer to heal, and there's usually some scar tissue and some repercussions. And unfortunately, ICBC doesn't reimburse you as well either.
Right.
So I tried every modality. I was in chronic pain. My life was different. I was a mother. I was trying to get back to work. I had to take 10 months off work. And I very athletic. That's one of the things that I've always enjoyed. And I was unable to exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And so after a while, after 10 months, I went back to work. I tried every traditional technique you could think of. And then other techniques such as Heller work, deep muscle tissue, pressure, acupressure, acupuncture, of course, chiropractic, physio, and all the other traditional things. And I was able to manage, but my day consisted of getting up, stretching, going in the hot tub, then going to work, working out at lunch so I could loosen up, go back to home, make supper, get back in the hot tub, stretch, and go back to sleep. And I only slept 2 hours at a time.
Oh.
So it wasn't until about, and when the chronic pain specialist said to me, Wendy, you'll never ride a bike again. You're never going to hike. You're not going to be able to be the athlete you were, but you will, you're walking. So, be grateful.
Mm-hmm.
So being the stubborn Polish girl that I am,
I know
that I can heal. And it was interesting that I remember coming back from the pain specialist in Vancouver, and I was talking to a friend of mine, Roberta Deans, Erin Deans, and she said, Wendy, I don't believe that. She says, I want you to come and see this lady. And so I had this, I said, sure, I'll do anything. And so I went to this session with a lady, and she was doing some work. It was energy work. And what had happened was, she said, who would like to volunteer? I wanted to volunteer, right? And it was that evening, what had happened was she started to work on some of my subconscious things that had happened to me in my former life,
right,
as in before I was married.
Right.
And I had released a bunch of hidden emotions, and I noticed my pain going down. So I went to her for several treatments, and then I plateaued. I was able to do a little bit better, but it wasn't until that I was exposed to EFT, the emotional freedom technique. My massage therapist said, Wendy, I found this new thing, you should go to it. So I took the basic course. I took all the way up to the advanced. And what I was finding gradually, my pain was coming less and less and less. I was able to cycle. And then what was the real cool thing was I was able to hike and climb up Mount Revelstoke with a backpack. So I thought, wow, this is fantastic. And I would help other people using the emotional freedom technique. I didn't charge. I was just helping friends and family.
Yeah.
And then my massage therapist said, Wendy, I found something else. It's called the emotion code. It's with Dr. Bradley. You got to try this. I said, okay, I'm in, right? Because I knew the EFT, non-traditional, really lowered my pain. I was able to sleep at night. I was able to get 6 hours sleep, not just 2 hours, but 6 hours.
Fantastic.
In a row.
Yes.
So then I took the emotion code, and it was the emotion code that really kind of released a whole bunch more of stuff. It's like an onion, right? You know this, Natasha.
Yes, of course.
When you work with your clients, it's like an onion layers.
It's a process.
It's a process.
Yes.
And so I remember back in 2009, I was going to the Spring Festival Awareness in Naramata, and I volunteered as a healer and to do my techniques because I wanted to get into free for the conference, right?
Okay.
Well, I only got to go to 2 sessions because I went, once I had the one, a person booked, and of course I volunteered, so the money goes to the conference center, and people heard about what I was doing, and so I was booked solid, and the people who were coming to me were healers, and they were saying to me, Wendy, you need to do this work. You need to do this publicly. You've got to stop hiding behind and just doing it with friends and families. You really got to get to work and help other people. And that's when I decided to do that, because I was helping other people and myself.
And what a beautiful story. And thank you for sharing that with us, because there's nothing like, if you could do it, that inspires others. So tell me, what is the emotion code and what's the process?
Oh, the process. Thanks for asking. So the process, the emotion code, what the emotion code is, it was devised by Dr. Bradley, who's a chiropractor, and there's a chart. And in that chart, there are different rows.
Yeah.
There's a column A and column B. And through muscle testing, we can pinpoint what the actual emotion is.
Okay.
For example, fear or grief or unrequited love or
Unforgiveness.
all kinds of stuff,
Yes.
such as unworthiness is a huge one.
Yes, it
Huge
is.
unworthiness, right?
It is.
So you pinpoint that emotion, and then through what we call is, I just have this handy, a mag creator. You roll this all the way down your spine.
Right.
As you take a deep breath in, you think about that emotion.
Right.
Of course, we talk about it and we process it, you know,
Right.
why they're feeling it, and then we roll it all the way down the spine. And the reason why it works so quickly is this is a mag creator and it's full of magnets. So what it does is, as you're going along your spine, you are resetting your nervous system.
Wow.
And it just, boom, it releases emotion. And it's quite interesting because through muscle testing, you know, people say, well, I have, you know, especially men. I love working with men. They're the ones that are the ones that are most skeptical.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
I really don't have anything that's bothering me. And I said, okay. And so we test to see if you have a heart wall or a hidden heart wall and what's trapped in your hidden heart wall. So imagine an energetic wall around your heart.
Yes.
Right? So what's really interesting is they go, I got a heart wall. What the heck is a heart wall?
Yes.
And I say, okay, just pretend. And we measure it in feet. And they say, this is ridiculous. I'll say, okay, just for a moment, let's just try one emotion.
Right.
We'll go through the chart, we'll find the emotion, and they'll say, well, you know, I can't really remember why I was so anxious. And I said, okay, well, we can go right back to their childhood. We can pinpoint the year.
Yes.
As soon as the year, I said, well, what was happening in 20 years ago? And they go,
yes.
Oh my gosh. And then they'll remember.
Yes.
We'll talk about it, then we'll release it. And then as we're rolling down, we're putting in a new thought, right? A new thought. So instead of feeling unworthy, I feel powerful, I feel worthy. And you're reprogramming your subconscious mind. So I find, what I find with the emotion code in EFT, what you're doing is you're replacing those emotions and those
Exactly. So can I ask you a question here? Because as you know, I don't know if you know this, because I've just started this actually last year with quantum healing. And I've been doing past life regressions for 20 years. And I'm able to psychically, like you said, identify the year. And I'll say to a client, you know, when you were 3, and this actually happened, when you were 3, I felt somebody, a male in your family, was abusing you, and I could feel the trauma. I didn't say sexual abuse or emotional, verbal, but this particular lady who was in her probably late 20s when she came to see me, burst into tears. And she said, yes, I know what that's about. And sure enough, it had been an uncle and it was sexual abuse. So I didn't know about quantum healing then. So I sent her off to a counselor and I said, you know, that's a process, you know, you need to go and heal it. She came back to me 6 months later. I did not recognize her face. Her whole physiology had changed, and because she'd released that pain, not that she wasn't pretty before, but her face looked different, and I knew that she'd released and replaced it with something else. So now, my question to you is, in the emotion code, do you let the client choose their new belief systems? Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah,
okay.
We let them believe it. I let them choose the word. And the other thing what is really good about what the emotion code is that, as you know, everything is frequency.
Yes.
So when you are in an emotion of hate or resentment or anger, it is a very low vibration.
Yes.
Right? So what you're doing is you're releasing that low vibrational energy in that subconscious and in your mind physically.
Yes.
You're programming your mind with a new thought, which is a high vibration frequency. Right. So now you're vibrating at a much higher level. And so as we go through the heart wall and the hidden heart walls, we release all these hidden emotions.
Yes.
The person's vibration is raising so that their body is able to heal.
Yes.
And so that is one of the key things to remember about the frequency of all your emotions.
Exactly. Because when I tried to explain this to a man recently who has got a terminal illness, and I wanted to work with him. And he said, "Oh, no, I'm fine, but I want to heal." And I go, "Okay, well, that's not going to work." Because there's a reason why you've got this disease, because there's something wearing down on your physical energy. And once we remove that thing that's wearing you down, the body can heal itself, right? Because you've released that. Yeah, so my question, when I do past life regressions, and now I do quantum healing, so the quantum healing sounds very similar, but my process is a lot longer, so yours sounds much quicker and more dynamic. So what I do is I allow or encourage my clients to go into, on the conscious level, of course, what's their life story been so far, and what were the things that really, the traumas, the good and the good stuff, and what has it left them feeling about who they are. And you probably know this, Wendy, that the most common subconscious belief is, I am not good enough, right?
Yeah.
I am not good enough, whether it's in love or money or sex or career or whatever. So that comes up all the time, of course. And it's shocking to me, even with highly successful people, how low the self-esteem is, or what they've had going on. So the quantum healing process is identify sometimes the negative emotions. And then, I don't know about you, do you find forgiveness has a huge part in the healing process?
Oh, forgiveness, that's one of the things in the as a life mastery consultant, in every course every program that I offer, there is a forgiveness piece, because forgiveness is the key to healing. And there's a lot of misconception. People say, well, that person, how could I ever?
Exactly.
Person. However, what they don't realize is forgiveness is releasing a block within me to love's presence. And once you can release that, then you can further heal.
Yeah.
But resentment is a big one that causes so much disease.
I think it causes, a lot of cancer, actually.
Well, one of the studies that one of the things they've done, actual scientific research, and they've measured people's sweat, for example, right?
Yeah.
They measured sweat, and what they can do, and they've also done brain scans. So I've done a lot of work with neuroscience, and what happens is that when people are asked to feel, for example, sadness or hurt, or they'll go back a memory and they'll put that you can see in their brain scan what's happening in the firing in the brain neurons. And then they measure, actually, they take their sweat and they analyze the sweat. And what they found is grief, fear, anger, and resentment, those four emotions, their sweat is like acid.
Wow.
So think about that. Think about that. Think of when you're so angry and you're so in resentment, think about your cells. That's like pouring acid on your cells.
Yes.
Those emotions. So that's why it's so important to clear them.
It's so interesting you bring that up, because I don't know if you've read the book called Hidden Messages of Water, with a Japanese doctor. It's about this thin. I think everybody should read this book. And he researched water molecules for 20 years. He froze them. And, we're 60% water, 65% water. And he said, every time you eat something, especially if it's been in the microwave, or, you're feeling angry, you speak to your water and your food and you say love and gratitude, because that changes the frequency again. So,
That's right. Dr.
Emoto, thank you. Yes.
Yes, and what they've actually shown, and I even show the slides in my workshops about how they show under a microscope, they've taken the crystals and they've frozen them. And then what happens is they see love in this beautiful crystal.
I know.
But the word hate, it's like brown mush, or other emotions. And they've shown the difference. Like I'm going to kill you, it's like black, a
Yes.
black cell.
Yes.
So those emotions, if they're doing that to the water cell,
Yes.
right? They
Yes.
did, they showed it where a Buddhist was doing a prayer, and they froze the water, and they were, the Buddhist was, you know, praying, and then they showed the crystal, and it was magnificent.
Yes.
So when we think of gratitude and love, and that's why he's saying, as you're eating or drinking, thinking of love, you know, like mine's worn off right now, but I have love, peace, gratitude. So it's like, it's so important. And
Yes.
once we become more conscious in our
Yes.
mind of the
Yes.
emotions that we're experiencing, that's how we become more happy and more fulfilled. And
Yes.
gratitude is at a very high vibration.
Yes.
So the more we can stay in love and gratitude is also on the same frequency as abundance.
Yes, of
So
course.
people are wondering why they're not attracting abundance. They've got to think about what their thoughts are.
Exactly. Because what you focus on expands. So getting back to my quantum healing process, you know, I go through the old story, we turn it, all the things that have happened to them, I say they happened for you. So if you created them, you can uncreate them and you can forgive them, forgive yourself. And then let's clear the space for new reality. And what is that new reality that you want to do? And then I take them into an alpha state or maybe a theta state where they're completely relaxed, and I take them on a journey into that new reality. So they see their reflection, they see the beauty of themselves, their divinity, and they're free of all that low frequency stuff. They're in the high frequency, and then they can move forward in that way. But I have to say, it's a bit of a long process. How long does your emotion code take?
Well, it just depends on the person's how big their heart wall, their hidden heart wall and
Okay.
their heart wall is, right?
Yes.
So, and how much trauma they've had in their life.
Yes.
So
Of
what
course.
happens is, you know, I've worked like yourself. I've worked with a lot of physical and sexual abuse clients, and both male and female.
Yes.
And depending on how, like what I usually do is 2-hour sessions. And the
Right.
reason why I do a 2-hour session, most people that are trained like I am, they do a 1-hour session.
Mm-hmm.
But what I find is you just get to the point after an hour,
Right.
and then like, man, like, wow,
Yes.
why you know,
Sorry, time's up. Gotta go.
So I like to do 2-hour sessions, and
Me
after
too.
about 2 hours, they've released a lot. They actually would like to have a rest, right? And
Yes.
drinking a ton of water, that's another thing. And the type of water, you know, I've also make sure I have Kangen water, which is living water,
Yes.
so that they are keeping at a high vibration. And then
Right.
just depending on, you know, I might have to do 5 or 6 sessions. But what I find is, and like you know, if they can create a clear mental picture of a life that they truly love, and that's why I
Yes.
get into my programs, like, you know, my 12-week
Yes.
programs, because it doesn't take just like you said, you have a long session, because once people start to reprogram their mind, they need help with staying on that frequency.
Well, that's right.
And they
That's
need
right.
help. It's because they need the repetition, right?
Yes.
Because if you think of ourselves, and we've been programmed for 40 years
I know.
of all or more of
Yes.
all these patterns and all these beliefs, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's easy to go back,
Very easy.
right?
Well, and that's what I do with when I do that visualization, I create a recording and I actually ask them to play it for 21 to 30 days as they go to sleep. So no work involved. I say it's actually better if you go to sleep, because your pea brain ego mind is taking a breath and it goes directly to your subconscious, so it can keep reinforcing those new belief systems that you've chosen to take on for yourself. So, you know, it's I've had great success with it, but unlike you, people, well, I want another session, Natasha. It's like, okay, you can come as many times as you like, as long as it takes to get to that high frequency. And I'll just tell you this, I had a client today and she said, well, I just want it to be like done just like that. And I said, well, like you said, you've been on the planet a while and you've been listening to this old message for years and years and years. And it's like taken root. So we're going to have to, we've nudged it a little bit today. We've kind of put cracks in the system. but we've got to ease it out. It's like getting a tooth out kind of thing. So it's very interesting. In your experience, Wendy, do you see some people recalibrate instantly and then other people take longer? Have you had that experience?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, it's really interesting because it's depending on how open you are.
Yes.
So what I find is, you know, I had recently some male clients, and one of the guys was saying, you know, I have been doing some work. His wife does energy work, and so he was a little bit more open to it. And what I was finding with him, because he was so open and he was willing to talk about, you know, what had happened to him in his childhood and what happened to him in his life. And a lot of the stuff that what happens is it's from our childhood, and then what happens us at school and through business and through all the things that happen, all the different traumas that happen to us as individuals. But the more open you are, the faster you can clear those emotions. The faster you can clear and go through them, because your mind is going back to where it was, where it happened, talking about it, clearing it, resetting it, and say, okay, I'm ready for the next one. So the more open and receptive you are, the quicker it goes. The more tight and resistant, you know, and it's just through patterns. And again, it's your belief. Well, this stuff, you know, this is woo-woo stuff.
Right. But I think there's also a time when people should come for healing, and I call it emotional readiness. So, for example, last year, I had a gentleman who came to me, and I had 7 readings in one day, and 4 of these people had lost people to suicide. And this one gentleman had just lost his son. I said, it's too soon. You're too raw, you know. I think you need to go through the what the Egyptians call the first wave of grief. You know, there's the big grief, and you know, come back then when you can handle that. And I think also, and I know I had to go through a lot of healing because I came from a very dysfunctional background, as you know. And, you know, it was like layers, like you say. So I go for a year of counseling, and then I'd take a break, and then I'd do this workshop, and then I'd read this book, and then I go see this person. And I always found that if I wasn't quite ready, I would like, no, stay away from me, you know, I'm not ready. And there wasn't any point, because, like you say, you're wasting each other's time if you're not ready and willing to jump in and go, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, and you know, I do agree. It is readiness. And the other thing too, that one of the things that I do with the EFT is, you know, if a person is stuck, and you know, it because of the emotion is so embedded in the subconscious, as you know, right? So what happens is I'll use the EFT technique to break it up, and I find that works really good with sexual abuse.
Okay.
Especially with victims. The last client I had was a young girl, unfortunately, was traumatized, raped, and then shot up with drugs, and then, you know, constant rape, like daily. You know, she was used as a sex slave, right, as a teenager. So of course, you know, it was a little, she had to earn my trust first, right? And then we started breaking things, and then we got to a point, and I said, you know, let's just do some EFT. And the EFT is the tapping technique, and it was through the tapping technique that she finally started to cry and started to release the emotion, and it was just flooding from her, right? And then I said to her, okay, you know, this is good for today. Now I want you to tap in, and I teach them the tapping and the setup and everything, so that I give them homework so that they can actually do it in between sessions.
Can you explain, I know a lot of people are familiar with it, but for those who aren't, can you explain how that works on the subconscious?
Yeah, so the EFT, emotional freedom technique, again, it's all about meridians and energy, right? So you do a setup with a tapping, you do what it is, and it's really important to be specific. So for example, say, you know, even though I'm angry at my spouse, well, you want to get right into the meat. You're angry at your spouse, but why are you angry at your spouse? Because he never listens to me.
Right.
You get down, you do the setup for 3 times, and then what you do is you say, and now, I deeply love and accept myself, and I'm now ready to release it. And then what you do is you tap on the meridian point. So you tap here, and you're releasing. I
Right.
release, right? And you tap, tap, tap. And then I teach the advanced technique, tapping your legs.
Okay.
And then there's the eyes to the left, to the right. And then we hum happy birthday, only if happy birthday is good.
Okay.
So sometimes
Okay.
birthdays aren't.
I know.
We do happy birthday. We hum,
Yes.
we tap our heads, and then you're breathing throughout, right? And I'm helping them breathe in.
Right.
And the same with the emotion code, right? Because the breath also is oxygen, right?
Yes.
And that's also resetting the nervous system.
Exactly.
So what you're doing is you're tapping those emotions deep into the nervous system.
Yes. Okay.
And you rate it at a scale of 0 to 10. So, if you're anxious, for example, right? You tap out that anxiety before a business meeting or whatever. You rate it from 0 to 10. If it's a 9, you're tapping until it's a 0.
Yeah.
Right? And you keep going through the setup and then through the meridian points. And it's quite interesting how, and the more expressive you can be, like, if you're really upset and you really want to scream and yell, that's good, because you're getting it out of your system.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right? So those are different tools that we can use when, I remember going when I was working with the municipal government, and some things would be happening, and because I'm an empath and so are you, I feel other people's emotions, and I forget times to shield myself, right? And so I remember bylaws would come in, and there would be this big huge trauma incident with drug overdose and all this stuff, and these guys are coming in and they're hyped, and my desk is right across from them, and I'm going, oh, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and I'm tapping out. I'm feeling what they're feeling.
Yes,
right?
of course.
I'm tapping out and go, okay, now I think I need to go for a short bike ride, clear my mind, and then come back to work, right? Like on my break, right? Or my lunch hour, whatever.
Right.
Because, everything is energy, right?
Exactly.
Everything is energy. So, some people are empathic, and that's what happens too with the EFT and emotion code, is that sometimes you pick other people's emotions up that aren't even yours.
I do it all the time. Well, I used to do it all the time. I know how to manage my energy now, so I don't. But yeah. And you can take it on and think, oh, I was having such a good day. What happened? And then you can think it's your own and go, what's the matter with me? When really it's like a cloud that's passing by down the street, kind of like COVID. It's like it's easy to catch. So get away from me.
And a lot of people don't realize that they're super sensitive to energy.
Right, exactly.
Men and women, not just women.
Oh,
right?
I know. Well, I've been teaching psychic development, and actually that's a really good segue into my next question, because I've been teaching psychic development for 25 years now. And the most unlikely people come to me, and I shouldn't say they're unlikely. I tell them, I say, don't you think you're psychic? And they go, well, no, I don't know, or I'm afraid of it, or yes, but I don't want anything to do with it. And because it's caused them pain in the beginning. And I say, everybody, we are all intuitive, if not psychic. It's like being born, we can all draw, but some of us could really be artists and some need to be trained. But what I find with intuition is that it's been buried. And this is a very interesting thing, Wendy. When women started to go down deep inside themselves, they would come up against their old trauma. And they couldn't access their intuition because this big trauma was in the way. So I go, okay, let's go into the trauma, because if that's going to get you through to your intuition, and when this happened and that happened, and again, we turn it around, and then they could access their intuition. It was so interesting for me. It was like a layer in the middle. And a lot of these people had gone through things they thought that had happened to other people, but they'd absorbed them as their own.
Yeah, absolutely.
On. So if, to me, forgiveness, in the process of forgiveness, I like to say to people, look at this as an event and then turn that event into a brick. It's like a red rough brick. And, you know, it's not yours really. It belongs to, give it back to the person that gave it to you. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great metaphor.
Yeah. So anyway, question to you is, do you think you were already empathic and already intuitive, or do you think doing this work has really expanded your intuition and your, yeah, I'm going to say your intuition and or your psychic ability?
Well, that's a great question. I think as a child, my grandfather always used to say to me, "You're just like my grandmother. You're super sensitive, right?" And, you know, I felt at that time things, I could feel things. I could feel things. I could sense things. And I always remember a lot of times I would think of people and then I would see them or they would phone. And that happens to all of us, right? But what I found is because of our schooling, our normal traditional schooling, that kind of pushes it down.
Yeah,
It
it's a
pushes
crime to
it
be
down because
sensitive.
you start to think of things and then people think, you know, you're kind of weird, you know, so you stifle it down, right?
Yes.
But what happens is now the world is becoming more conscious and
Yes.
they're becoming more aware and more mindful. And I
Yes.
think, thank God, the world is starting to change. And what
Yes.
I found is that, you know, I would have these visions and all of a sudden, you know, boom, they would happen. And I would have visions for other people, right?
Yes.
And what I found was when I was in nature, it would come to me, these things.
Yes.
And I kind of just kept it within myself. But it wasn't until I started getting into these modalities and through the Life Mastery Institute and being, you know, a life mastery consultant now for 6 years, my intuition I've learned to listen to my intuition. And that's one of the things that we teach, and I teach to my clients as well in the programs that I do, is I help them develop their intuition, to listen to that small voice, that inner voice, because that inner voice is divine intelligence talking to us.
Exactly. Thank you.
Right?
Thank you. Yes. You sounded like me now. This is getting spooky. But also, when people ask me a question, should I do this, Natasha, should I do that? I go, well, okay, first situation is situation A, and then the situation B. When I ask you, do that, how does it feel? When I tell you to do situation B, how does it feel? And I go, one is going to be lighter than the other. Forget the circumstances around it. Just go with the feeling, because that is your intuition, right? And plus that voice that comes to you. But what I found, and you kind of brought it up, is so many people don't know how they feel. So I've had quantum healing clients and I'm going, so how does that make you feel? And then they'll start talking about the weather, right? And I go, no, but how did that make you feel? And they go, like, feel is like, what is that word, you know? So it's, I think my generation and before, and maybe even after, you know, I was trained not to feel. I was like, you don't have a right to feel. Like, be grateful, suck it up, you know, go to your room, that kind of thing. So it took me a long time to go, yeah, how do I feel? How do I feel? So the question I always ask myself now is, how do I feel? So that helps me somewhat get back in touch. But let's get back to the subconscious beliefs. So who are your most typical clients that come to you, and what are some of the beliefs that you've had to gouge it out of their subconscious and smash up and set it free?
Okay. Well, I find, you know what? It's a full spectrum. It's a
Yeah,
full, I've worked with clients who are between age 15 to 70,
yeah, yeah.
75 even, right? So it just depends on what's going on with that person. I
Yes,
get most of it's word of mouth,
yes,
because people have had sessions and great results and they
good.
refer others, right?
Yes.
So it depends. It's basically what I would say is a client who is having a chronic condition,
Mm-hmm.
either physical or emotional,
Mm-hmm.
someone who is having trouble with functioning. So here's
Yes.
an example. A very good friend recommended her son to me. And he was going through severe anxiety because, you know, his wife was into the drugs. She left him, and he had two gorgeous kids taking care of him. One wasn't even his. And he was a phenomenal father, but he was going through so much anxiety and so much worry about the kids and all the things that were happening to him emotionally. He came for a session, and we started to release a lot of this anxiety and a lot of this emotional trauma. And what was really, he was worried that he wasn't going to have custody of his kids. And I said to him, I said, you know, first of all, let's get rid of all this stuff so that you can function. Because he had to take time off work because he couldn't even work. So what happened was, in the first session, we got rid of the heavy stuff, the anxiety, the worry, the fear, the emotional trauma of what he went through. And he was able to sleep at least at night. And then the second session, we got into more deeper stuff about how he didn't feel he was worthy and all this kind of stuff, because he was basically being emotionally abused by his wife, right? Sensitive guy, empathic guy, and phenomenal father, fantastic guy. And he would, every time he would leave, I said, oh geez, I wish I would take a before and after picture, because they look like so, like, oh, like so stressed out, and leave, they're so high vibration. Well, the gold nugget of the story is that 4 months after, I think it was 4 or 5 months after, he went to court, and he was just sweating bricks, right? And he wrote out his affidavit, and his mom went with him to support him. And I basically said to him, you are not going to have one problem in court. I said, you're going to get whatever you ask for. I said, because let's get real. Let's stick to the facts here. And you are an incredible man. And I said, you know, this guy was gorgeous, right? And a big heart, right? Oh, good looking, everything. You know, he said, you realize the package you are?
I know.
So anyways, the gold nugget of the story was, when he went to court, and he was getting nervous because all the cases, the judge was super strict, and you know, really was like this to the couples, right? Well, he went to court. Of course, his ex didn't show up, and the judge leaned over to him and said, what would you like? What do you want? And he got everything that he asked for.
Wow.
Yeah, everything he asked for.
Fantastic.
Work, right? And you know, and women were starting to wanted to date him. And
Yes. She's going, what a concept.
You know, he really, that's how people can traumatize other people, because the belief of them not feeling worthy, the belief of not feeling that they can move on or cope with life. And now
I know.
He's just like a different guy.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, kudos to you, because I know, well, kudos to him as absolutely, absolutely. And you for being, you know, such a wonderful facilitator. Is that your happiest story? Do you have any?
Oh, I've got many happy stories, but that was just one that I thought that we had. I have another one that it was one of my clients. She did the emotion code, because when I do my courses, I usually offer the emotion code session first.
Okay.
Stuff, right?
Okay.
And she's in the Dream Builder program, and one of the things, and she said I could share this story. So she was a chef, a certified Red Seal chef, and she got laid off 1 month before her visa was to be good to become a landed immigrant. And because she got laid off, boom, that nullified her ability to work.
Wow.
So I said, don't worry about this. I said, you know, we're gonna get you through this. I helped her write a letter to the federal government, and reconsideration letter. I said, it's just this paperwork from Italy. They sent the wrong thing. I said, this is ridiculous. I said, don't buy into this. Focus on your vision, right?
Right.
So as we're going through the course, the Dream Builder program, I said, you know, what do you really want? And she says, well, I really want to live in Vernon, and you know, I want to work as a chef, back as a chef, and I eventually want to start my own business, right? And of course, she wanted to have a home and stuff. So what had happened was 2 weeks before Christmas, she gets the letter from the immigration. You have to go home to Germany. You're deported.
Oh,
She had no money because she was laid off for 3 months.
right.
And she was working under the table as a babysitter and doing farm work and stuff
Right.
just to pay your rent. I said, don't worry about this. I said, is there a reason why you have to go home? Spirit, there's works in weird ways. And she goes, as a matter of fact, my grandmother is very ill and I would like to see her. And I said, well, there you go. I said, have you got some other stuff that you want to heal when you go back? She goes, yeah, actually, I'd like to see my mom and dad. They were divorced and stuff. So she goes back to Germany. Her sister pays for her flight. And as she gets back there, they're going, wow, you look so different. Like everything about you's changed. And she was saying, well, what the work that she was doing and the course that she was doing. I said, stay steadfast in that vision, right? And we were continuing the course on Skype. This was before Zoom. We were continuing the course through Skype. And I said, keep on your vision. And I said, I know you're going to get the letter from immigration, probably in the next year.
Right.
It'll happen because this was December. I said, probably in 2 months. That'll probably take 2 months. And go to the MP in Vernon before you go and talk to him and tell him your story. Right.
Right.
So anyways, she finished the course. She graduated. She ends up working in Germany for her sister and cleaning, so she can pay back the flight and everything. And she got to see her grandmother before she died. She got to see her parents. I said to her, I go, how you doing? And she goes, I got the letter. So February, she was able to come back in Canada. Wow. She's now working for a catering company, already up in management, and she's doing her own chocolatier business.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, I'm inspired, Wendy. I can't wait to come and see you now because I've got some dreams on the horizon, and we all have our wobbly moments, right? Especially during COVID and the smoke. But I just want to, we're coming up to time, but there's one question I really wanted to ask you. You work with businesses, right?
Right.
Organizations. So maybe this is a silly question, and I also work for corporations in a different program called Energy Dynamics, but very similar kind of concept. How do you work with groups when it's such deep work?
Well, what I first do is what I usually when I'm doing a group session, I start to work on what I call as a vision workshop. So what we do is, I want to get them clear. And through the vision workshop, I start talking about paradigms and I give them some tools of how to knock their paradigms out.
Right.
We don't get deep into the EFT and the emotion code, but what I do is I give them skills on how to stop that negative self-belief, that paradigm, and how to shift that paradigm. And you can do it within minutes. Right?
Beautiful. Yes.
Do it within minutes. And then what they do is they work in pairs and they start to work on their vision. They could work on their personal vision, or depending on when the company, if we want to do a vision for the company, then we go, okay, what is the vision? What do we really want?
Right.
And then we talk about all the barriers. And then we say, okay, how do we get there?
And getting everybody on the same page, going towards the same goal. That's right. Yes. That's wonderful because, I'm with you. I believe, I actually believe that there should be a course in school on this. That because we suck up most of our subconscious programming between up to age 7, I think is somewhere in there, but it goes on and on and on, especially when we have traumas and grief and that kind of thing. And life kind of chews us up and spits us out a little bit. So I think, having a course in school or being an offer for us to check in once a year and saying, okay, what kind of grime have you accumulated in your subconscious mind during the year? And let's keep that nice and clean so you don't have to go through these painful patterns that repeat themselves time and time again and then passed on to the next generation as well. So, I think you and I should really shout this from the rooftops that everybody needs to go through the emotion.
I would agree. I love working with you. And I've done visualizations, athletes have been doing it for years.
Yes.
Right. They visualize that ball going into the hole when they're golfing. They're visualizing that back. going in, you know, as I don't know, have you ever read the book The Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman?
I started it, but I didn't finish it. No.
Okay, so
Yeah.
he talks about how he was teaching the gymnast on the balance beam because he was a gold medal, right? And
Yes.
so that gymnast, she was screwing up on her dismount, right?
Right.
So what happened was he said, okay, today we're not going on the balance beam. Today we're working with our mind. I want you to see yourself go through your routine and your dismount. And then she would go, oh, and he'd go, what's the about? And she'd go, well, I blew my dismount. He goes, no. I don't want you to see you blow your dismount. I want you to see you do a dismount how you want to do it.
Yes.
A perfect dismount, a 10, right?
Yes.
So then he worked with her until she actually believed that she could do it.
Yes.
That she believed that she could do it and see herself do it. And he worked with it and he said, now you're ready to actually do it.
Yes.
Well, guess what the result was? Gold medal at the Olympics.
Of course. Well, I'm going to win the Oscar for my screenplay and my TV series.
Absolutely. And I'll be having a bottle of bubbly right there for you.
There you go. Wearing my little red number, you know. So Wendy, I want to thank you so much for coming on. It's been a lot of fun. I could talk to you for hours. So for our people who are watching, you are located in Kelowna, correct?
Yes, I am.
And how much are your sessions, your emotional code sessions?
So the EFT sessions that I do, and you know, the energy I work that I do, I usually do a 2-hour session for $150. I should be charging a lot more, but
well, how many? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
So it's a 2-hour session for $150.
150. Okay.
Yeah, I should charge a lot more, but why I keep it that way, I keep it affordable because my real passion is to help people.
Yes, well, that's very beautiful. And we should have been on Facebook Live tonight, where all your contact information was already posted. But I will put your information on Facebook and on YouTube as well, so that people can find you. Okay. Yeah. And I would just like us to go out in the world and teach humanity about how to do the tapping and the emotional code, and they can, all those quick tools that they can do for themselves. So I want to thank you so much, and thank you for the work that you're doing. And you inspire me, and I can't wait for us to get together in the fall. And I probably still got some old, you know, like I say, during the year, you pick up those bits.
We're like a sponge, and we're like an onion. And you know what? I have to do the stuff on myself. I had to clear myself before this session because I wanted to make sure I was clear. Oh, right. Good. So it's important that people know that too.
Yes.
You know, because we're energy beings. We're emotional beings. We have to.
Exactly.
Right? I want to thank you, Natasha, for the work you do.
And, oh, thank you.
And you know, I can't wait to see that screenplay.
Oh well, and the TV series too. It's going to be so amazing. So what I like to do is just at the end of this, Wendy, is give a shout out to certain people. I'm still giving a shout out to the medical staff, firemen, everybody who are being heroes, and they know who they are through this terrible time. The firemen that are fighting the forest fires, my heart always goes out to them, or the families that have been through some terrible losses this year. It's been probably the most challenging year on the planet. And everybody that's being kind, because not everybody's following the rules. They're being a little bit selfish, shall we say. And I want to thank the people that are being responsible, that are thinking of other people, whether or not they believe this is for real or not. But just, you know, humor us and wear the mask and follow the rules, because, you know, you just might be wrong about those conspiracy theories. Anyway, so I also like to say thank you. Also next week, I was going to do readings online, but actually I want to really talk about bullying. So I'm going to be doing 10 tips on how to deal with bullies, because it's not just children who get bullied. A lot of my clients, and you know, we don't often think of these people as being bullies, but actually we're being bullet. So there's going to be 10 tips for that next week. And then I like to do a meditation. And just to, I don't know, would you like to lead the meditation, Wendy, or would you like me to?
You go ahead. I'd like to experience your meditation.
Okay.
I do meditation, so
I know.
yeah, it'd be nice
Yeah,
to experience yours.
it's just a very quick one, just a kind of a prayer/meditation, just to finish up the show and to bring the energy in. So I ask everybody just to please close their eyes and just sit up straight and comfortably to allow the energy to flow easily and effortlessly through your physical being and your spirit. Taking a nice deep breath in through the nose, breathing in positive, exhaling the negative lower frequency energies you might be feeling at this time, imagining that you have a rose crystal bowl hovering in your lap, a virtual one, and this is a receptacle to take away all your negative, old, useless, obsolete belief systems. So breathing in love, the high frequency of love and light and laughter, and just exhaling any old fear, any old resentment, any anger, any feelings of not being good enough. So take a nice deep breath in and blow that stuff into the bowl. One more breath in. Nice pink love and light, sunshine, laughter, and blow the negative stuff into the bowl. You do not need that anymore. That is not serving you at all. And asking your guides and angels now to come and remove that bowl from you and everything in it and transmute it into beautiful dreams that you've been holding in your mind. And seeing those dreams become realities for yourself, for your family, for other people, for healing, for abundance, for safety. And just knowing that you are a beautiful spark of the divine, very loved, and all is well in your world if you allow it to be so. Amen. So be it, and so it is.
So it is.
So it is.